Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another brief lessons from the Juz. Today we'll be doing Juz number 26. As we begin, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabi ajma'in wa man tabi'ahum bil ihsanin illa yawmiddin. So Juz number 26 goes from the beginning of Surah Ahqaf, the very first verse, all the way to Surah Dariyat, chapter number 51, verse number 31. So we are going to cover in Juz number 26, Surah Ahqaf, chapter 46, Surah Muhammad, chapter number 47, Surah Fath, chapter number 48, Surah Hujurat, chapter number 49, Surah Qaf, chapter number 50, and part of Surah Dariyat, chapter number 51. So as we see, as we go along the various Juz, that the number of surahs constantly is increasing. So we'll just be picking out one or two, a couple lessons from each, not probably going through each single surah by itself. So we start with Surah Ahqaf. Surah Ahqaf, Allah says at the beginning of Surah Ahqaf that in the Akhirah, in the next life, when there's heaven and hell, where there's Jannah and Jahannam, that everyone in Jannah, that they will have their specific darajat. They will have their specific among the darajat. And when we say darajat, it means a level in heaven, a level in paradise. And we know that there are seven samawat, that there are seven heavens and seven earths, and seven. When we say seven heavens, there are seven levels of several levels, stages of heaven also. But within these seven heavens, that there are different levels within the heavens. So we know that different people, even within a heaven, that they will be at different levels. And we know the famous hadith where the Prophet Muhammad also mentioned that on the Day of Judgment, that everyone will be told to recite. A person will be told to recite, and recite from the Quran, that is. And wherever you stop in recitation, that will be your daraja. That will be your level, that will be your elevated status in Jannah. So it goes to say here that the more Quran that we have memorized, the more that we know that will be contributing to our level in Jannah also. Something also to note that the levels in heaven are referred to as darajat or daraja, a level, elevated stage, elevated position. When it comes to the hellfire, to Jahannam, the different levels in Jahannam, because in Jahannam there will also be different levels depending on the severity of the sins that we committed and all of that. The levels in Jahannam are not referred to as darajat, because this is for more for something that's elevated, but referred to as darakat. We can say like the depths of Jahannam instead. So something to note. Going on, we could probably jump across to Surah Muhammad one time. Surah Muhammad being one of the places in the Quran where the name of the Prophet Muhammad is mentioned. So the name of the Prophet Muhammad is mentioned in Quran, and Allah calls the Prophet Muhammad by different names and different titles in the Quran. Muhammad, Ahmad, and Nabi, Rasul. So Surah Muhammad, Allah says in the beginning of Surah Muhammad, verse number 7, that in tansurullaha yansurkum wa yuthabbit aqdamakum, that if you help Allah. And when we say you help Allah, of course we do not need to help Allah when you help the cause of Allah, when you help Islam in general, when you help spread the message of Islam. In tansurullaha yansurkum, when you help Allah, that Allah will also help you. وَيُثَبِّتَ قُدَامَكُمْ, and He will plant your feet firm and steady in the ground. So when we help Allah, when we help the cause of Allah, when we help Islam and anything that is Islamic, when we help spread the message of Allah, that Allah will help us. And when we know that Nasrullah, when the help of Allah comes, that it is indeed unlike any help that we can get from mankind, that this is far more superior. It is divine help. وَيُثَبِّتَ أَقْدَامَكُمْ, and Allah will plant your feet firm in the ground. You would not be able to be shaken by anything, that you would get through stuff, being firm, that it will be difficult for anyone to overcome you. It will be difficult for anyone to throw you down. It will be difficult for anyone to cause problems against you. So, but because you are firm, because you have the Nasrullah now, you have the help from Allah. Allah goes on to say in the verse immediately after it, that for the disbelievers, that their deeds will become wasted. Their deeds will be wasted. And why is that? Why would the deeds, even though of the disbelievers, that they may have done a lot of deeds, and they may have we can say good deeds, deeds of charity, deeds of helping others, good deeds in a general sense. Why would these deeds be wasted? And we see that when in Islam that we do deeds of charity, we do any sort of good, we do it because we are following a command of Allah. We do it with the knowledge and the hope that in doing good we are pleasing Allah. We do it in the knowledge that we would get blessings for what we do, and we do it knowing that Allah is the one looking at us. When someone from who is a non-Muslim, who worships other than Allah, whether it be an idol or they worship and they say that Allah has a son, may Allah protect us from that, and may Allah forbid us from that. And they say that Allah has a son, and and this is what their belief is. And when they do deeds, so some people, they may do deeds and do deeds of charity, but their charity is actually geared towards getting pleasure to this God, to this idol, to a son of God. So it in itself acknowledges shirk. It in itself acknowledges a God other than Allah. And because these deeds were given and done for a God other than Allah, because these deeds were done in acknowledging kufr and shirk and disbelief, it's not just a mere deed alone of charity, but it is done in the name of a God other than Allah, that these deeds at the end of the day can be wasted. It can be summed up to nullified, to be voided because of the purpose and the intentions for which it was done. So even though those among the disbelievers may do very good deeds, that at the end of the day, because it was done for other than Allah, it could go unrewarded. Wallahu ta'ala alam, and may Allah protect us from that. Going on, Allah says in Surah 19, one of the very profound statements of Tawheed in the Quran, where Allah says, فَاعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ, and that indeed have knowledge of La ilaha illallah. So Allah says, have knowledge of La ilaha illallah, not just say La ilaha illallah, not kul La ilaha illallah, or not just affirm La ilaha illallah, but have knowledge of La ilaha illallah. So what does this mean? So we know when we say La ilaha illallah, that there is no God except Allah. It means that La ma'buda bihaqqin illallah, that there is no deity, there is no object of worship, there is no God, there is no deity really that is deserving of worship other than Allah. So there are other gods, because these other gods are what people worship, and they establish them as gods. But when we say that La ma'buda bihaqqin illallah, that there is no deity that is actually deserving of the worship except Allah. So when we say that Allah says to have knowledge of La ilaha illallah, so we do not just recite, we do not just say upon our lips La ilaha illallah, but know what we are saying, understand fully well what we are saying. When we say that Allah is the Rabb, that He is the one who has created all of us, that we understand that. When we understand that Allah has attributes that are names that He has called Himself by, and we understand, and we could, when we say think about, we know Allah through His attributes. We know Allah, who Allah is, through His attributes and His names. And when we get, so having knowledge of La ilaha illallah is getting to actually know Allah, and knowing Allah, how we can do that? Through His attributes, names and attributes. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Allah goes on to say in Surah, very same Surah Muhammad, verse number 24, that أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُ الْقُرْآنَ, that do they not ponder upon the Quran? Do they not ponder upon the Quran, or are their hearts locked up to? So generally when someone would read the Quran, or if you would read any book, the general understanding, or the general modus operandi that we have is that we tend to ponder upon what we are reading. We tend to internalize it in our brains, and understand, comprehend what we are reading. But when we come across the Quran, we say we do tadabbur, we reflect and we ponder upon the meanings of the Quran. And Allah says to some people, do they not ponder upon the Quran? Because for indeed, if they were to ponder upon it, you would realize how miraculous, how amazing the Quran really is. That every single um, every single situation that we can almost find ourselves in, that there's somewhere in the Quran that we can relate to it. There's somewhere in the Quran that we can find solace. There's somewhere in the Quran that we can find solutions for our problems, and so much more than that. So Allah says that do they not ponder upon the Quran, or are their hearts akfaluha, are their hearts locked up? And may Allah make us among those that our hearts are not locked up, that we are able to ponder and do tadabbur of the Quran. Wallahu ta'ala. We could probably jump across to Surah Hujurat, chapter number 49. And Surah Hujurat deals a lot, the beginning verses deals a lot with the Muslim Ummah, and the brotherhood, sisterhood, brothers in Islam, being interacting with individuals also. So Allah says in verse number 10 that innamal mu'minuna ikhwa, that indeed the brothers, that the believers, that they are ikhwa, that they are brothers to one another. And the word ikhwa, it is usually referred to refer to those who are blood brothers, those who come from the same mother. But Allah uses the word ikhwa here, ikhwa here, to refer to the brotherhood in Islam. So it shows that closeness and closely knit, and how we should feel of our Muslim brothers. And when we say Muslim brothers, we also mean Muslim sisters at the same point in time. So we don't leave out and forget about the Muslim sisters, that indeed everything we say about them, that they should also be closely knit. They should also feel for each other, as we say that, as if it were their own blood sisters that they are feeling for. And Allah describes them as that, and if someone is our blood brother or blood sister, that we would really care about them, that we would feel for them differently than someone else, that we would look out for them in times of need. So the Muslim brotherhood, the Ummah as a whole, that they are like this, that everyone in the Ummah, that they yashuddu ba'duhum ba'da, that as the hadith says, that each one supports another, that if anyone is in any sort of distress, anyone is in any sort of difficulty and hardship, that first we should feel for them also. We should feel what they are going through. We should sympathize with them, and at the same time we should see how whatever we can help them, that we can assist them, that we can get them out of their hardships. Allah says, Prophet Muhammad says in the hadith, that whoever assists and whoever comes to the aid of a Muslim, that on the day of judgment, that Allah will come to his aid, that Allah will help them. And whoever removes a hardship and a difficulties from another Muslim, that Allah would remove the difficulty and hardship from them on Yawm al-Qiyamah. So we can, it's a win-win again situation, that we don't go wrong. And Allah goes on to say in verse number 11, the verse immediately after this, that do not ridicule one another. Do not call, like have one group calling another group names, and one group ridiculing another group. And sometimes we find this, that even among our Muslim brothers and among our Muslim sisters, there sometimes are cliques. There are sometimes groups by nature, that some people will tend to gravitate to others, and they have the close-knit friends, and that's okay. But if we do that, don't look down at other people. Do not look down at other groups of people. Do not ridicule other individuals. For indeed, as Allah says in this verse, that perchance the one who is doing the ridiculing and the one who is being ridiculed is actually in a better state and in a better position than the one who is doing the ridiculing. So sometimes we look down at people and ridicule others, and sometimes we as a group sometimes call out people and look at others as inferior and look down on them. But sometimes these individuals that we are actually looking down at, they may actually be in a better state and a higher position than us. They may be more loved in the sight of Allah than us, and Allahu Alam, we do not know. So let us not be among those who call others names, nicknames, or ridicule others, and let us be brothers to one another. Allah goes on to say in the verse right immediately after it, that do not assume things of others. Do not suspect and do not assume things of others. Sometimes we see someone doing something or being somewhere or indulging, and you see them in a maybe something that's compromising. But the first thing we like to do sometimes, and maybe as Trinidadians or people in general, is that we like to assume. We like to assume, and not just assume, but assume the worst of people a lot of times. So Allah says that do not assume, do not suspect, and do not assume. For indeed that leads to conjecture, that it can be a sin in itself. and sometimes maybe a lot of times that which we assume of someone else is not that actually. They could be probably innocent, and we are making them guilty in our eyes. And Allah goes on to say that do not suspect others, and do not backbite. That tajassasu, and do not backbite at the same time. So backbiting, when we look at it, is a quality that sad to say that a lot of us fall into a lot of times. And I admonish myself firstly that it is something that is very easy to fall into. Because what is backbiting? As the hadith mentions, that backbiting is saying something about your Muslim brother or Muslim sister, and not in the absence of their presence, not in their presence, behind their backs, basically. So then a companion asked the Prophet Muhammad, so is it saying something bad about them? Prophet Muhammad said no, that if we say something bad, then this is slandering the individual. If we said something bad about them behind their backs, this is slander. But backbiting is actually saying something that is true about the individual, but it is something that they probably would not want to be heard in their absence. So it is something that is true, but they would not like to be heard in their absence. So if we know that we are saying something about someone, but it is something that if they knew about it, they wouldn't like it, then this could probably be backbiting. So a lot of times we fall into this, and sometimes the juiciness of a conversation is based upon backbiting. And as Trinidadians, sometimes we are accustomed to that. That sometimes our pastimes is natural when we meet up people, that one of our things that we talk about is other people. We don't talk about things, but we talk about people at the same time. And it's easy when we start talking about people that we get into backbiting. And may Allah protect us from this. And Allah says in the same verse that He equates backbiting to eating the flesh of your dead brother. So it's so grave of a sin it is, and may Allah protect us from that. We'll close off with the verse that Allah says in Surah Qaf, chapter number 50, verse number 16, that Allah is closer to us than our jugular vein. And we have heard this before, that Allah is closer to us than our jugular vein. And when we look at our jugular vein, it is that vein in the neck that it brings the blood away from the brain and away from the head and back to the heart. It is inside of us. It is in our necks. It is something that is internal to us. It belongs to us. But if Allah says that He is even closer to us than this jugular vein, it's as if Allah is saying that He is even closer to us than we ourselves. He's closer to us than we are closer to our own selves. That He knows us better than our own selves. And sometimes we find ourselves in situations that we may have never done before, engaged in before, and then we realize certain things about ourselves, that hey, I can actually do this, or then I actually know what my weakness is, and I didn't know I would react a certain way in a situation. But Allah knows even all of this, that some things we didn't even discover about ourselves yet, that Allah knows this, and much more than that, in the sense that if we intend, or if we ever try to not disclose or to hide anything from Allah or conceal anything, that Allah knows exactly what we do, that He is closer to us than our jugular vein. So we cannot at no rate hide or conceal anything from Him. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Do try to read out the juz tonight, and even more than that, for this is the 26th night in Ramadan, and in some parts of the world they are actually the 27th night in their parts. So it could be something that maybe it could be Laylatul Qadr, we do not know. So of course we need to do as much effort as we can as in these last 10 nights of Ramadan. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. And do join us again tomorrow. Wal akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.